Alright, and I'm back. So, episode 3 of the new Disney Plus series, The Book of Boba Fett, aired Wednesday? And let's break it down. Seems like things are starting to get kind of interesting, and at the same time, they're kind of starting to suck. Let's break it down. Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
Yeah, so like I was saying, I'm torn about this show. Because it started off kind of slow, and I understood it, because it's kind of like supposed to be like a samurai show, kind of a western, but now I don't understand where it's going. It had potential. The previous episode had a lot of potential. It looked like they were doing some cool stuff, but I don't know. This one kind of left like let's just say, an unsatisfying flavor in my mouth. I'm going to say it's totally bad. I'm just saying unsatisfying. So, before we get into all that stuff, let me just give you a quick reminder that any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Super Dario World on YouTube and on Twitch, streaming live. Next week, it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 5 p.m. And so, the rest of the week, I don't know. Mondays and Fridays are going to be wildcard out. Monday might be like 3 p.m., maybe 2:30-ish. Friday, I don't know. Could be whatever. Fridays are wildcard. Yeah, because I might just pre-record it or something if I decide to travel somewhere. Who knows? We'll see how that goes. But the other days, yeah, for sure, you can find me 5 p.m. unless, something big happens. If you want to send me something privately, you can always do that on Instagram at Super Dario World and at DarioSDW. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. It really helps me out. I really appreciate it. But let's get into it. Let's continue with, like I said, the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 3. So, last episode, we were introduced to kind of like the potential big bads of the show, which were the Hutts. So for those of you who don't know, Jabba the Hutt is a major character in the Star Wars universe. He's basically a mob boss. The Hutts are introduced as mob bosses. Jabba the Hutt, spoiler alert if you haven't watched all the movies, but Jabba the Hutt gets killed in the Return of the Jedi by Princess Leia, and so there was kind of a void left over in the criminal underworld. That void was taken over by his right-hand man called Bib Fortuna, and at the end of the previous season of The Mandalorian, we see a secret scene at the end where Boba Fett shows up and blasts Bib Fortuna into oblivion, takes over his kingdom. So, that's who the Hutts are. So, who the Hutts were. They were basically a criminal family or species. I don't know, it's not clear. Anyway, last episode we were introduced to the twins, the Hutt twins, and apparently they were laying claim to Boba Fett's Boba Fett's current territory, Jabba the Hutt's previous territory. So there you go. Now you know who the Hutts are. Now you know everything. And we were also introduced to a big ass Wookiee who looked pretty intimidating. And we're like, oh, this should be like an interesting fight because we got a big bad here. And so things were going into an interesting direction. But at the same time, I was kind of annoyed by the fact that Boba Fett is kind of being treated like a chump. I don't understand it 100%, but it was bothering me, and not just by the characters in the show, but by the writers of the show. They weren't using Boba Fett to, let's say, my satisfaction. All right, let's keep it simple. Let's see. Sinville, hey yo, the homie Dario, what's up? I'm glad I dropped by before I left. Just want to say hi. Hope the stream goes smoothly, and I hope you enjoy your weekend, my dude. Take care. Also, what's up, Tarek? Sinville, thank you for joining me. I appreciate that. I appreciate the kind words, and I'll pass your message along to Eric. Hope you have a great weekend as well. So, with that being said, let's get into the episode, and let's just let's break it down, I guess. So, from the beginning, from the top. Episode begins at Jabba's palace, which I guess we should be calling it Boba's palace by now, but really doesn't matter. And basically his droid is explaining how the city, Mos Eir, I think, I'm terrible with names, sorry. But how basically Boba Fett's territory is divided into 3 families, and how Bib Fortuna kind of overlooked all of them, and how he had to deal with the mayor and all that stuff. So Boba Fett's like, alright, interesting stuff. And they're looking at it. He's making his plans, making decisions. Breaks down the three big powers in the city, and then they get interrupted by a visitor. The visitors is a water dealer. Is what would you call him, a water dealer? I don't know. Basically a guy goes and asks for an audience with Boba Fett, and he sells water. I don't know if you call him a water dealer, but because he's not a moisture farmer, he just deals with water. Anyway, he goes there and basically tells Boba Fett like, "Hey, everybody is treating you like a chump. Like nobody respects you. And that's very insulting. Also, somebody's stealing from me, and I want you to deal with it. And I'll pay you double your money if you deal with this situation." So again, this dude sells water, and there's a gang of like punks, of young punks who have who have enhanced their body with robotic parts to make themselves tougher, and apparently they're robbing him. So this guy's like, "Help me, because it's making you look bad because the streets are unsafe. With Bib Fortuna, things we're safe, and now it's not. I can't even do business. I can't even sell water, and this is a desert planet." So there you go. And Boba Fett's like, "All right, fine, whatever. I'll help you out." Freaking internet. Why does it have to be this way? Why can't anything ever just be easy? The internet. Anyway, so Boba Fett's like, "All right, fine. I'll go check it out, right? I'll go explore the situation." So he goes. He grabs Fennec and the two pig bodyguards whose names I forget. And I forget their names. But it's the green pig guys. They show up and they see these bunch of ruffians. And now immediately you look at them and you're like, basically these are a bunch of cyberpunk dudes. And not as far as like the world of cyberpunk, but kind of there. And it's exactly what they were explained. A bunch of like young ruffians who basically enhance certain parts of them. We're not sure who enhanced what. Some of them are pretty clear. Some dude's got a thing in his eye. The girl's missing an arm. But there you go. So Boba Fett basically it's like, "Hey, go get the fuck out of here. Go back to work." And the kids are like, or the teens or whatever, they're like, "Hey, there's no fucking work. And we know who you are. We just don't give a fuck." So again, we go back to this whole thing of treating Boba Fett like a chump. Now, Boba Fett had a reputation as a bounty hunter before. He had a reputation as a badass. So why they're just, like, poo-pooing him makes no sense to me. He walked into Bib Fortuna's castle and took it over. He killed him and took it over. So Boba Fett should be, like, a guns blazing type of guy. He should have that kind of rep. But everybody's just treating him like he's some kind of pushover punk. And these dudes who are pushover punks, like are treating him worse. Like, I mean, just look at these dudes, all right? These dudes make no sense with what they're trying to portray them as in the show. So supposedly they're a bunch of ruffians. It's a gang that's stealing water and shit, right? And they enhance themselves with several mechanical enhancements. However, if you look at them, their clothing is kind of nice. So, all right, so it makes sense, you're part of a gang, you're stealing stuff, you make money, so you start looking nicer. Also, enhancing yourself, I'm guessing, doesn't come cheap. And actually, the dude here with the eye stuff is proud of the fact that it was expensive. So, that's the first thing that we know. They look kind of nice, all right? They have like kind of like their own cyberpunk fashion stuff. They voluntarily enhance their bodies, which again is expensive, and they're let's just say they are well kept. It looks like they spend money in their appearance, right? They're clean, which can't be easy to do in a sand plant and all that stuff. So that's the immediate look that we get. And then these guys start saying, "Well, we don't have any jobs, and we're stealing water." And you see them. They got all these mopeds. Well, the equivalent of mopeds. By the way, no tough guy ever has looked tough on a moped. Just saying that. Maybe in Grand Theft Auto Vice City a little bit. What's his name? Tony. No, it's not Tony. Tommy. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Maybe Vercetti. Is it Tommy Vercetti? Is it Tommy Vercetti? I don't know. Maybe in Grand Theft Auto, riding the Faggio. All right, cool. Nobody else looks cool in a no self-respecting motorcycle gang would ever be going around in fucking mopeds. And these may be space level mopeds, but they're mopeds nonetheless. Mopeds are basically for losers, or people on vacation somewhere in a tropical island or whatever. Anyway, so you got this gang of cyberpunk dudes in mopeds that look pretty nice. I mean, they look pretty nice and shiny. Again, desert planet. Keeping those things nice and shiny must be expensive. And then they give us this sob story of not having any money, and they're supposed to be laborers, but there's no jobs to be had. Well, if there's no jobs to be had, how the fuck are you paying for your enhancements? How the fuck are you paying for your bike? How the fuck are you paying for the fuel for all that stuff? So again, this just doesn't make any sense. This show doesn't make any sense because they're presenting one thing visually, but then they're telling us the exact opposite. It's similar with what happens with Boba Fett. We know who Boba Fett is. Boba Fett is a scary motherfucker. He's deadly. He got into power by basically walking knee deep in blood. That's who he is. All right. Nobody's ever questioned that. And now in the show they're presenting him as a chump. People are treating him as a chump. It doesn't make any sense, and it upsets me. It really upsets me, particularly these dudes, because they look like a bunch of losers. Anyway, next, Boba Fett basically is like, well, how about if I give you a job? Because it makes sense, there's strength in numbers. He just kind of like realized that the Hutts are showing up. That's a danger. He needs backup. So it's like, hey, you know what? I'll give you guys a job. Now, if you're asking me personally, I would never hire the gang of kids who ride mopeds because I just really don't think that they're going to be that useful. But whatever. It's Boba Fett. He gives people a chance. So all right, fine, whatever. And he's never been known for making the best decisions in life, but whatever. So he's like, hey, just I'll hire you kids, and then you'll be fine. But then the water salesman shows up, and he's like, hey, no, they stole from me. Let me see if I can get an image of the guy, because he's actually kind of a known actor in a way. He was in Office Space. Everybody hates him. I think he's a meme. I forget the meme. Anyway, whatever, doesn't matter. So he shows up and he's like, hey, wait a minute, they owe me money. Now, here's the thing that really bugged me. It looked like he walked out of this building. So it looked like he works here. Like that's his shop. So he's like, hey, those kids stole from me. And it means that these dudes stole from the guy and were just hanging out outside of his business? Like, that's a hell of a flex, I guess, and if you don't give a fuck. But it's like, can you imagine that? Can you imagine robbing somebody to their face and then just hanging out outside of their establishment? That's just insanity. That's just fucking insanity. That's just straight up disrespectful. At least, have the decency to rub me and then run away. Don't just hang around there. So, this is just a bad decision all around for Boba Fett, but I guess he's trying to be the quote-unquote good guy, because this guy's overcharging them for water in a desert planet. I think water is the most expensive, by far the most expensive commodity in Tatooine, because again, it's a desert planet. So you can probably charge a lot for it because again, it's probably a valuable commodity. Anyway, doesn't matter. So the point is basically Boba Fett says fuck you to the dude who pays taxes to him, and underpays him. Says like, well, here you go, shut the fuck up. And hires the kids to become his new soldiers or something, which is a terrible idea. Honestly, all around, this is all just a terrible idea. Because people are calling him a pussy. If you're gonna be a pussy, I guess you need numbers. So I guess it's a rock and a hard place. If somebody's calling you a pussy, well then you build your posse or whatever. You don't build a posse of dudes in mopeds. That's just a bad idea, but whatever. It'd be way cool if you show up and you beat down the dudes who are disrespecting you and, calling you a pussy and affecting your business. That makes you look like a badass, but whatever. I guess this show is set up on making Boba Fett look like a pussy. All right. Why? I don't know. You got one of the coolest characters in the Star Wars universe who basically did nothing in the movies, but everybody loved, and you're just throwing him down the toilet again? Okay. Fine. Whatever, Disney. So that happened. Basically, Boba Fett left with his new crew, which, by the way, this is pretty funny. Boba Fett's leaving there, and he's walking. His crew's walking, but the dudes are in the mopeds, and they have to follow him around. Like, they have to go behind him in the mopeds, which is gonna be fucking hysterical. But anyway, they're gonna spend a lot of gas. And Mos Espa. That's how it's called. Mos Espa. That's the city. Anyway. So, next we get Boba Fett again in his rejuvenation chamber, the healing chamber, whatever it's called. And he goes... As well, he starts getting the flashbacks. He gets a flashback of the planet... It's not Geonosis. It's... God damn it. The planet of the clones. Can't What's God fucking damn it. It doesn't matter. Camino. So he's getting a flashback of the planet Camino, seeing his dad take off in Slave One, and then he gets flashbacks again of his time in the desert. Basically, I'll give it to you. Long story short, we see Boba Fett take a banta through the desert to have a meeting with the Pikes, and the Pikes are like, "Hey, we want to be in business with you, but we're not gonna pay double. So we're already paying a bunch of bikers for protection across the desert." And this is kind of like this was actually a throwback to The Mandalorian. There's a moment where you see helmets of Empire soldiers. So that's actually like a throwback to The Mandalorian, because I believe these exact helmets appear in The Mandalorian, but I guess that doesn't matter right now. Anyway, the meeting with the Pikes basically go that way. It's like, all right, listen, we want to pay you. We want to be in business. The Syndicate wants to cross things across the desert. Why? I don't know. I mean, we have spaceships and we just could go through space instead of going through the desert. But whatever. We're doing it the hard way. So we just don't want to pay double. So either we pay the bikers or we pay the Tusken Raiders. And Boba Fett's like, the Tusken Raiders have controlled these sand dunes since they stopped being oceans. And they're like, all right, cool. So just deal with the other guys and then we'll be in business. So Boba Fett's like, sweet, I'm the best negotiator in the world. He gets in his banta. He goes back through the desert. He sees smoke on the horizon. He's like, oh no, this is bad. He arrives at the Tusken Raider camp and it's been basically decimated. Everything's on fire. There's a bunch of dead bodies everywhere. Like, no. He sees a symbol that he's seen before, and it's the symbol of the motorcycle dude. So he's like, fuck, man, those guys again. So you remember the guys who randomly showed up in like the episode that he's being dragged across the desert, and you're like, why the fuck did that happen? And then the dudes that he met at the bar and he beat him up before stealing his motorcycles. You're like, why didn't he just steal the motorcycles? It doesn't really make any sense. Or speeders. Why didn't he just steal the speeders? Doesn't make any sense. Those guys are coming back to bite him. All right, now we see why they've been shown all this time. But whatever. So they're introduced. Well, they're not introduced. They show the attack, and so Boba Fett, in the meantime, he burns the bodies. He burns the sticks that the Tusken Raiders have, and basically it shows us that the whole Tusken Raider storyline led to nothing. So I don't know why we were there the whole time. I don't know why we had to see him cross the desert to go see the Pike. I don't know what the fuck this whole thing was. But thank God it's over, because it was so beyond fucking slow. So maybe the show will start picking up a little bit more after they're gone, because holy fuck. Peaceful Tusken Raiders are boring as fuck. Also, how the hell, if you control the desert, if you know every dune or whatever, how the hell did you get ambushed by speeders? Like, how does that happen? How, if you're like the master of this particular environment and you got sneaked up by a bunch of dumbasses and speeders who, by the way, they just got beat up on the previous episode by Boba Fett. And by the way, we saw that one of these dudes trained Boba Fett to fight. And by the way, the Tusken Raiders now also had speeders and all this fucking tech. And by the way, I'm assuming that the Tusken Raiders had to have some kind of, I don't know, let's say watch, like some kind of watch out there or something. I don't know. It just makes no fucking sense. But the point is, they got beat up by a bunch of clowns and they're killed and they're out of the story. And you know what? Good riddance, because they were kind of really boring. Peaceful Tusken Raiders. Are you fucking kidding me? Anyway, moving on. So this Boba Fett's abruptly woken up from his flashback by a big ass Wookiee whose name is said, but I don't remember. Kashard or whatever. They say his name. And this leads to one of the most bizarre fighting choreographies I've seen in a long time. Now, for starters, Boba Fett was asleep inside the tank, and we know that this guy has like a big ass blaster. He decided not to kill him with the blaster while he was asleep in the rejuvenation chamber. So, all right, first off, bad idea. But you know what? He's a warrior. He's a Wookiee. Maybe he wanted like, I'm gonna kill you with my bare hands or whatever. Understandable. How a Wookiee sneaks into your castle is fucking beyond me. A Wookiee, a big ass Wookiee, snuck into your bedroom, and you're supposed to be like this big badass criminal guy. I'm going to say you need to up your security by 1,000, because that's a fucking Wookiee that just snuck into where you were sleeping. And by the way, the fight lasted between Boba Fett and this guy quite a while before anybody showed up. Now, let's add a few things that just don't make any sense. one hit by the Wookiee hits Boba Fett quite a few times, and I mean like punches. He bites him at one point, just throws him around like a rag. One of those hits should kill a human. Just one hit by a Wookiee. Like, you guys, you might have seen this movie. It's called Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. I'll remind you, Chewbacca, kind of small, kind of scrawny for a Wookiee. This guy, big, beefy dude, but whatever. So, you guys might not remember what a little line from Han Solo when they were playing basically the space chess. I forget the name. Names are not my thing, but they're playing space chess, and C-3PO says to Han Solo, like, well, nobody worries about upsetting a droid. And Han Solo's like, yeah, that's because a Wookiee won't rip your arms off if they lose. So, again, it's been set up that a Wookiee can rip your arm off pretty easily, right? I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. And this guy is even bigger than the Wookiee that he was mentioning. So, I'm going to call BS on this entire fight. I hated it. I hated it because there's ways to fight against or to make a choreography that you're fighting against a bigger, stronger opponent where you don't have to resort to ridiculous stuff, right? It could be that Boba Fett is skilled enough to avoid the hit. One hit from a Wookiee, you're pretty much done. Even if it's a light hit. Even if it was like unintentional, like let's say like in a cartoon, like I'm gonna hit the guy behind me and there's somebody behind me and the Wookiee goes like this and knocks the guy behind. One of those is enough to kill you because it's a fucking Wookiee. You guys ever seen like videos of a gorilla or something? How strong a gorilla is? I'm assuming a Wookiee is the equivalent of a gorilla, or the equivalent of a bear. Polar bears have enough strength in their upper, well, I guess I want to say paws, but like in their upper body, their arms, to pull out a orca from the water. Now, they don't do it because they're not in their food chain, but they have enough strength to do that. Let's say a Wookiee has half of that. I'm assuming they're similar in size and in weight to a fucking polar bear. But let's say half of it. So half a polar bear strength, half a polar bear size and weight. Imagine having enough strength to pull out half an orca, or like a small orca from the water. It's a pretty powerful fucking animal, right? And here, Boba Fett is taking punch after punch and being thrown around like a fucking ragdoll, like a fucking champ. In fact, I don't think he even has, he gets hit by electric knuckles, and I didn't really see that he had a mark in his face. It's fucking ridiculous. It's insanity. It's okay. We're not, we're watching Power Rangers now. I mean, we're watching what? We're watching a cartoon. This makes no fucking sense. It's again, it became a kiddie show. This was not a kiddie show. This episode was a kiddie episode. And it's fucking bullshit. It became a cartoon. And honestly, not even a good cartoon. But whatever. So the fight goes on, and it could have been a great fight. It could have been a fantastic fight. Again, a Wookiee bites you, and I didn't really see him bleeding. Like, it was just stupidly done. And so here's where the cyberpunk kids show up, and one of them stabs the Wookiee, and then others show up, and they just start, we're gonna fight you. And while they're fighting, they're all surrounding the Wookiee. The two big pig guys show up, and the Wookiee decides, I'm gonna fight you two. So he goes ahead and he spears the two. They fall down some stairs. They keep fighting. The fight is going in the Wookiee's direction because he's a Wookiee and he's bigger and stronger than these two. Again, these two are supposed to be big, strong bodyguards, big fighters. The Wookiee's manhandling like they're nothing. And so he's embarrassing the two. All of a sudden, the kids show up again. Fennec shows up, and she opens the trapdoor to the I was going to say Sarlacc pit, but that's not it. It's the Mancor? It's not a Mancor. Again, names are not my thing. But he opens the door to the secret compartments of the pit and throws a knife at the Wookiee's hand to make sure that he actually falls on it. So there you go. Wookiee captured. Victory. And Boba Fett's like, this was fucking brutal. But he takes care of his green dude who's injured. He sends him over to his rejuvenation pit or whatever. And then the next day, him and Fennec are having a conversation of what the fuck they're going to do. Boba Fett's like, well, we got to respond. This time, it's pretty clear who sent him because we met this Wookiee with the Hutts. So it's pretty clear that the Hutts sent him, right? And Fennec's like, yeah, well, but we don't need to send any message. We already got him. We captured their right-hand man. We captured their muscle. Now he's their slave. So we don't really need to do anything. And let's just wait and see what they do. Boba Fett's like, no, because everybody's treating me like a punk bitch. And I'm starting to feel like a punk bitch. And by the way, look, he got punched by freaking electric brass knuckles in the face by a Wookiee. And nothing, basically. Maybe like a little bruise. Like, I've looked worse when I wake up from a hangover than this dude looks waking up from being punched by a fucking Wookiee. Anyway, and don't give me any shit about, well, maybe he used the rejuvenation chamber. No, because his pig guy was using it. Anyway, whatever, moving on. So the robot shows up and is like, hey, the twin Hutts are here and they have a gift. And they're like, what the fuck are the twins doing here? So the twins show up and they're like, basically, sorry, Chrysatin is the name of the Wookiee. So we're sorry. Whoops, we sent Chrysatin to kill you. We see that you're not a punk bitch. I don't know why. And so please accept this gift as a restitution. So they give him, I want to say Mancor, but I know it's not a Mancor. It's going to hit me. If anybody in the chat out there remembers the fucking name of the big monster that's, what the fuck is this name? Well, is it a Mancor? I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. So they gave him one. It's like, hey, whoops, we're sorry, we did bad. Here you go, peace. And all this exchange was very bizarre because, oh, by the way, Danny Trejo is now on the show, which is actually exciting. I like Danny Trejo. He's now in his 70s or something, but he still looks like he could kick your ass, like he's mad. Anyway, so he's the Hutts are basically like, hey, by the way, we're leaving the planet, so we're giving this as a sign of peace. Also, you can keep the Wookiee because you woke them already. We're leaving. And Boba Fett's like, you're leaving because you're scared of me, huh? And the Hutts are like, no, we're leaving because there's going to be another. We got informed that another competitor is showing up, and we don't want to mess with them, so we're leaving. And now all this is very bizarre, and I mean extremely bizarre because they said this territory has already been promised to another syndicate, and it was promised by the mayor, right? So the mayor, you remember the mayor? So the mayor promised this territory to another syndicate, and they're like, all right, well, so we're leaving. All this is very bizarre. So again, you got the Hutts, who are a mob family, and basically their uncle Jabba the Hutt gets killed, and they're like, all right, fine, Bib Fortuna can handle things from now on. Bib Fortuna gets killed, and so the territory is theirs by rights. But Boba Fett shows up there, and he's like, fuck you guys, it's mine. I killed Bib Fortuna. And they're like, no, fuck you, we're going to kill you. All of a sudden, Boba Fett wins his fight, and they're like, you know what, peace out. We're leaving. And we're leaving because somebody else is coming here. Now, I don't understand how one thing affects the other, to be honest. I just do not understand how the entrance of another syndicate here affects things, because they were going there for a fight. I guess they just expected to fight Boba Fett and not somebody else, and because I guess they think that Boba Fett is a pushover punk-ass bitch. Why? Because the writers are setting him up to be so, not because of all the rep from all the previous movies or all that stuff. I remember, this dude walked out of a fucking Sarlacc pit, alright? This dude's got a rep. He's got a kind of a good one. And so, alright. Anyway, let's continue. So, they decided, yeah, we're not in for this, and we're leaving. So they could have just been like, you know what? We're done. So you can keep the Wookiee. But they're giving him the monster for some reason. They could have just left. What's Boba Fett gonna do? Go after them? They could have just been like, hey, you know what? Sorry, keep the Wookiee. All yours. Do whatever you want. We're leaving. Peace out. That way, no hard feelings. I know that we kind of got one over on you, but you can take your vengeance out on the Wookiee. Whatever, we can leave. No, they showed up with kind of like a kingly gift. I'm going to call him Mancor, Malcor, whatever. God damn it, it's going to bug me. And you know what? As soon as I'm done recording, I'm going to remember the fucking monster's name. I want to say Sarlacc, but I know it's not a Sarlacc. Anyway, whatever. But they do this thing. That's like, all right. Okay. I don't understand it as far as, let's say mob mentality. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense for the Hutts to show up flexing and to leave like the next day. All right, it makes absolutely no fucking sense, because it makes them look specifically like punk ass bitches. And honestly, the introduction of the Hutts into this whole situation made it interesting, because as Boba Fett says, you need permission to kill the Hutts, right? You have to have it authorized, because again, they're made men, right? You can't just kill a Hutt. You need to, because otherwise you're going to war against all the Hutts. So there's a process to it. And I thought, okay, we're going to see that side of the criminal underworld. But no, they're just backing off like bitches. Now, they could have said the truth, and it's like, this territory is kind of a piece of shit. And they actually do say that honestly, this planet is kind of a piece of shit. It's just a bunch of dirt. But why'd you go there and risk it anyway? I don't know what they were doing. Honestly, like, what? It's almost like they added the Hutts specifically just to get the Wookiee into the story and give Boba Fett the freaking Marlack or whatever his name is. Oh god, whatever. The monster thing. It's almost like it was on purpose, which is very annoying. Anyway, so they leave and Boba Fett turns to the Wookiee and he's like, "Hey, no hard feelings. You go that way. We'll stay here. Just peace out. Stop trying to kill me." And the Wookiee's like, "The fuck?" But yeah, Boba Fett's like, "Yeah, I've been a bounty hunter. Just, don't work with assholes. Just, like, here's free advice." And the Wookiee walks out of there. So, how much do you want to bet that at one point of this fucking show, the Wookiee's gonna show back up and he's going to be an ally of Boba Fett? How much do you want to bet? $10, 100, 1,000? Yeah. Again, it's starting to become pretty obvious and pretty lame, to be honest. Now, the idea of having the Wookiee show up and fight again seems pretty cool. Him and Boba Fett fighting back to back could be pretty interesting. I just don't like the way that it's happening. It seems kind of bullshit. Now, when it happens and if it's done well, I'll be into it. But the way that they've already used them once, not particularly impressed. They need to change their stunt people, because honestly, that was just fucking pathetic. Whatever. Moving on. So they let the Wookiee go, and the Wookiee was like, "Alright, deuces." And then we get a scene basically with Danny Trejo explaining to Boba Fett that the monsters, I hope that they mention the Rancors. Rancors! Thank fucking God. Alright, Rancors. Thank you, Danny Trejo. The monster thing is a Rancor. And Danny Trejo's basically explaining, like, yeah, this is a young one, how they imprint, and how they're actually pretty nice and docile creatures. Now, to be fair, now I don't like this whole switching the attitudes of previously established creatures. Like, for example, the Tusken Raiders being peaceful and shit was bullshit. But but with the Rancor, I'm not as upset by it because they have set up Rancors to not be total fucking psychos in Clone Wars. Or was it? Maybe it was the Bad Batch. Could have been one of those two. I think it was the Bad Batch. In the Bad Batch, they do set up Rancors to be kind of... Actually, the Rancor that ends up being Jabba the Hutt's Rancor shows up in the Bad Batch. But whatever. So they do set them up not to be just completely heartless monsters. They're just big monsters, and I guess you can train them. Let's just say I'm not in love with this particular direction, or I guess it depends on how they use them, but I don't know. It's like, hey, you got this big scary monster, but he's actually a good boy. He's actually pretty sweet and docile until he rips your face off. Whatever, doesn't matter. I don't mind. I honestly, I don't mind, because it has been set up before in the lore that Rancors are not just mindless monsters. What I don't like is how they are making it that they are tameable, completely and totally tameable. It should be like a dangerous pet, and I mean like an extremely dangerous pet, like say for example, I have an owl monitor, right? Basically, imagine like a 6-foot long lizard. It's like a velociraptor but walking on 4 legs. Love the thing, but it has its moods. All right, you can't tame it. It's not like a dog. It's not going to follow you around wherever you go. It's not going to be. You're not going to be able to cuddle with it. It's not one of those pets. It's a pet that a few hours a day it'll tolerate your presence and it won't rip your face off. And so you have to adapt to it. It doesn't adapt to you. So if they would have established a Rancor more like that, it would make a little bit more sense to me, because it's like, hey, it's big and dangerous, and the reason why you're allowed to hang out with it is because it wants you to, not like, oh yeah, he's imprinting on you and all that. They're making it too easy. Again, they're making it a show for little kids, which is annoying, because this is supposed to be a mob show in Star Wars, a mob show set up in the universe of Star Wars. But whatever, let's move on. So we have the big Rancor scene. Basically, Boba Fett learns how to tame it and starts learning how to tame it. And then they get a message from the mayor. The mayor's basically like, hey, you can come and meet me, but I'll be back in town. Like, I'll bet I'm busy for like the next 20 days. And Boba Fett's like, the fuck you are. So he decides he's gonna go out. Oh, by the way, the Rancor imprinted on Boba Fett, so he looks at him directly. He's the first human that he actually sees with his own eyes or whatever. And so, oh god, my internet's just terrible. I see myself that I'm cutting out a lot. This is definitely going to be an edit, but whatever. So Boba Fett decides that he's gonna go meet Monsieur le Maire. And when he goes, like, again, sorry, the internet, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you. So when he goes and visits the mayor, the only guy who's there is pretty much the mayor's assistant, or the douchebag guy who goes and gives him the gift. And that guy's like, sure, I'll tell the mayor that you guys are here. Just give me a minute. And so he goes there, and god damn it, like, why does it set up and then it just doesn't go? I don't know what's happening. This is really infuriating. Come on. Anyway, so I'll just tell you what happens. I think it's the internet. My internet's just terrible. I guess I won't be able to do things live from here that much longer, because this is just not working. Well, whatever. So they arrive at the mayor's office. The mayor's apparently not there, and this guy is on the run. So he tries to lock them out of the office, and he's just speeding out there. He gets on his convertible and he speeds out of there. And so the motorcycle dudes, the moped guys, chase after him. So you get to see the moped dudes in action. You get to see the one of the dudes has like a leg that has a knife that kind of propels out of it. Another guy's got like a flamethrower kind of that comes out of his arm. It's all really, honestly, really stupid stuff, but they have it. And so they try to deal with the car. And after a really, really long, really crappily, very terribly choreographed race and very stupid race, what happened? Well, oh yeah, it's disconnected. Damn it. This is just not working out today. I don't know why, but it's really infuriating. But whatever. So after this really stupid chase, they managed to catch up to the guy, right? Oh, there you go. And so, like I said, they chase all over most ears, I think. And again, look at these mopeds. Would you be scared of anybody chasing you like that? And these kids are supposed to be poor. These are supposed to be the poor working class. I don't think so. Whatever. So they chase after the guy. They manage to catch him. And once they manage to stop him, Boba Fett shows up out of nowhere with his fucking jetpack. Now, you guys remember in the first episode when I mentioned when Boba Fett was surrounded by dudes with shields? And I was like, that's really stupid. Boba Fett's got a jetpack. He could just get out of there. And he never did. It's almost like it was conveniently forgotten by the writers, and now it was convenient for the writers to remember, and so they use that again. Whatever, the point is, this show's terribly written in a lot of things. And so okay, here you go, the arm flamethrower thing. We get to see all these nice little gadgets, but whatever. Let me just move forward all the way up. So Boba Fett catches up to the guy, and the guy says, oh yeah, well, the mayor's meeting with the Pikes. And now you guys might remember from the flashback who the Pikes were. Boba Fett was negotiating with the Pikes in the beginning, during his flashback. The Pikes are the guys who said, "Oh yeah, get rid of the motorcycle dudes and we'll do business." So supposedly, what they were trying to say is that these dudes are like a big criminal organization, but they're willing to do business. Anyway, then we get a ship, and we get to see all these pikes coming out of the ship, and it's supposed to be like big and scary, which should be big and scary, because I mean the Pikes, the Pike Syndicate is a pretty big criminal organization. So now you understand why maybe the Hutts are like, yeah, well, we don't want to be here dealing against the Pikes, which again, it makes it weird why the Hutt. All right, so. The Hutts are backing away from going to war with the Pikes because the Pikes were being promised this city by the mayor. So it doesn't explain why the Hutts would not just take down the mayor. Just, like, fuck you. You don't give away our territory to the Pikes. But whatever. Again, the Hutts are pussies, I guess. And so Boba Fett's now concerned, and they decide, well, all right, there's only one thing we can do, and that's, well, we got to prepare for war. And I think that's pretty much the last thing that happens. Yeah, so Boba Fett's like, all right, well, we prepare for war because war's coming, and that's it. And that's how the episode ends. So, there you go. Like I said, really, really torn about this particular episode because it wasn't great. The previous one had some potential. This one, not so much. And by not so much, I mean not really at all. It was boring. They kind of they they kind of ruined a lot of stuff that they were looked like they were setting up for no reasons. Like the whole thing. Listen, the whole thing with the Tusken Raiders. I'm happy that it's done. But then why the fuck were we even there to begin with? Why were we even watching? Why should we even care? Because it was slow and boring, and you were trying to set up Tusken Raiders as good guys, victims, when the entire time Tusken Raiders have been set up as bad guy goblins. So I'm never gonna feel bad about a goblin. Then the whole thing with the Hutts, why were they even there? Like, I was excited about the conflict with the Hutts. I would have been even more excited if there was conflict with the Hutts and the Pike Syndicate. Because, there's a power vacuum there, and everybody's like, oh, Boba Fett has it, maybe we can take him down because he's just one guy. And it turns out that he may be one guy, but he's not just an ordinary guy, and he's starting to build up a band of misfits. You send a Wookiee to kill him, he manages to turn the Wookiee. Getting a Rancor for no reason. So what? The Hutts were just there to be pushovers and give him a Wookiee and the Rancor? Honestly, why wouldn't the Hutts just give a gift to the Pikes? If they're more scared of the Pikes, right? So why don't they give the Pikes a gift? Now, there's such a thing, and this is the only thing that maybe there's such a thing as, all right, we're gonna build up Boba Fett, all right? We're gonna give him a Rancor, we're gonna give him the Wookiee, and that way Boba Fett will be stronger. And so when he goes to fight against the Pikes, he'll do a lot more damage, and then we'll come in. That's a strategy. I'd respect it. In fact, I kind of hope it happens, but it didn't seem like it was being set up that way. But alright, I could be wrong. And if it happens, I'll apologize. Right now, I just thought it was stupid and it's not going anywhere. It was a big waste of my fucking time. And the fight sucked. I was very excited for the fight with the Wookiee. The fight with the Wookiee was terrible. Disgustingly bad. And honestly, that's all in the choreography, that's all in the directing. It's just terribly done. The chase, stupid. It was really stupid. It was really lame. It was too long. It's not scary to be chased by somebody in a Vespa. It just doesn't happen. It's not cool in any way, shape, or form. It's never been cool. It's never gonna be cool. Getting the cyberpunk kids. Those kids look so out of place in Tatooine, in Star Wars. Maybe in another city. Maybe. But in Tatooine, they look extremely out of place. It looks extremely forced for no fucking reason. Their story makes no fucking sense. Yeah, like, I'm a poor kid, and I have to steal water because I'm dying, governor, and I just, the wages that they're paying me, it's slave labor, it's not fair. Also, I managed to enhance my body, and it was really expensive, and I have this really nice bike, and also I'm a total asshole who steals water. Like, yeah, let's just say, not believable, not interesting, it's not, it doesn't have your feet on the ground, so, I don't know, honestly, this is the worst episode so far, and by a lot. And it should have had a lot going. You introduced a new villain. There was a massacre. There was a fight with a Wookiee. And it was stupid and boring and a big waste of time. And it was a kiddie show and I hated it. So, there you go. That's it. I think that's a good place to stop. Because honestly, I'm getting upset. I'm getting really upset. Because, again, had a lot of potential. Wasted potential. They still don't know how to use fucking Boba Fett. And that's, I guess, at least one thing that's been consistent in Star Wars. But there you go. As always, any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Super Dario World on YouTube and on Twitch streaming next week for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 5 p.m. Monday and Friday are wildcards, so we'll see how it goes. But at least those days I'm aiming for 5 p.m. if you want to join me. Again, like, subscribe, all that stuff really helps me out. If you want to send me something privately, you can do that on Instagram at Super Dario World and at DarioSDW. Also, like, subscribe, really helps me out. As always, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again next time.